Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, I'm Tammy Kiefer, and I'm your host here at Overcoming Waves. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about limiting beliefs. So, what are limiting beliefs, and how do they encourage? Encourage, is that the word I'm looking for? How do they promote anxiety? How do they encourage anxious thoughts and feelings and self doubt? So, limiting beliefs are it's an idea that comes into your head because of something. Maybe you saw something on TV or a movie, or you read a book and you really identified with it, or maybe you had somebody telling you this statement, whatever it is, growing up, and it just became ingrained. A limiting belief is an ingrained thought or feeling or emotion or statement that landed on you at some point in your life. You subscribed to it and you made it your own, and then it you can live your life through this lens. So yeah, it's kind of like a lens. If your limiting belief, think of it as like a pair of sunglasses, and if your pair of sunglasses has a red lens, your limiting belief system of red is everything that you're going to see. So it taints everything that you see based on what you think. A shorter way of saying this is your perception is your reality. So whatever you perceive, whatever you see, think, feel, behave, act on, whatever, that's your internal belief, and that's how you're going to live your life. So sometimes we can have limiting beliefs that we don't even realize are limiting because this is the way that it's always been. And so today I'm going to bring up a few of them, and I want you to challenge them. So, yes, challenge them if you experience this lands on you, or definitely recognizing your own limiting belief system, your own limiting beliefs. Write them down. I mean, we'll talk about this in a minute, but um, you can't change something if you're not aware of it. So you'll hear me say a million times, you have to be aware of what's going on around you and what's not working so that you can put all the stops in and stop doing something because it isn't working for you. So let me give you a couple examples, okay? Um, One limiting belief that I came up with is I'm fundamental blah. I am fundamentally flawed. Like I am a flawed human being. There is something wrong with me. Have you ever said that to yourself? Have you ever heard somebody saying that? That is a very limiting belief. Something saying, telling yourself that you're flawed, that you're defective, that there's something wrong with you. Maybe you heard it. I don't know. Say you're a divorced person and you've got kids. Oh, well, you're a single mom with 3 kids. Like that's like no one's gonna want to date you. Or you're a single dad with 3 kids. Like that's a lot of baggage to carry on. That's a limiting belief. That is that there's something wrong with you because of your circumstances or where you are. So it tends to be something that you believe in your core. And again, filter, think of the sunglasses. If that is a limiting belief that I am fundamentally flawed, like at my core, how are you going to go through life? Where is your anxiety going to be? You're going to talk yourself out of doing anything before you even try it. You're not going to trust yourself when you start talking with other people. Say you're out in the dating world and you've got this idea that you're fundamentally flawed. How do you think you're going to present yourself? What kind of relationships do you feel like you are going to attract? Probably pretty toxic relationships, because if you're fundamentally flawed, you go out in the dating world, you're going to find someone else who is also feeling fundamentally flawed, and that can line up for a very unhealthy relationship. Um, so, and just your relationships with other people. We can talk about that in a little bit, but I think that for sure when you have that type of limiting belief, it holds you back in so many areas. So maybe if you have said this to yourself in one form or another, I mean, it could be something like, "What is wrong with me?" Well, that could be something where maybe that's how it comes out instead of a formal, "I am fundamentally flawed." Maybe it's like, what is wrong with me? Like, I can never do this. I'm always going to fail, that kind of thing. Challenge it, write it down, be aware of it. You can do something about it, but you can't do something about it if you're not aware of it. Number two, I am responsible for other people's happiness. So that is a limiting belief that can be ingrained at a very young age. We I don't know if we've talked much about family roles here in the anxiety group. I've got another group that I have. It's the Relationship Revolution, and it's just for the ladies. But we talk a lot about relationships and your past and things like that. But we talk about family roles and how you grew up, what was role modeled for you, what was your role, what role were you placed in, and what were the expectations, and how did you take that and continue to live your life. So I'm responsible for other people's happiness comes from more of an enabling role. It's like you need me. I have to lay down my life. I have to change who I am. I have to compromise what's important to me because I'm responsible for your happiness. And if I have an opposing belief system than you, then I have to put mine to the side because that's going to not make you happy. So, I mean, think about that. When I'm talking about, I'm sure you guys are like, well, I don't do that. Well, maybe you do. When I'm talking about it in those terms, when you're looking at it from an outside perspective, there's a lot. It's a lot easier to go, oh, that's not me. But then when you start to really evaluate yourself in relationships, do you tend to go towards people pleasing type solutions when conflict presents itself? Do you tend to swallow your opinions and your ideas and your thoughts and your words because you don't want to cause waves? Do you avoid conflict? Well, you can ask yourself, why am I doing that? Maybe it's because I feel responsible for other people's happiness, and if they're upset, I'm going to come in and smooth things over because that's my role. It's okay. It's just that if you're not aware of it, you can't change it. So if you have ever had that, I'm guilty of that for sure. I'm responsible for other people's happiness. That's something that I struggled with for a really, really, really long time until I was like, I'm done with this. I don't like this. It's definitely a role that I gravitate towards, but I also am aware of it, so I can recognize and I can start pulling that back and create different boundaries for myself. So that one's an all too familiar one, and and I can definitely look back in my life to see where that was a limiting belief and where it kind of got me stuck in some not great situations. So basically, I'm just saying it's okay. Like, we all have these, but you can't do anything if you don't know. So the next one is I am destined to suffer. So I am always going to suffer. This is just who I am. This is my life. Um, maybe it's like, maybe you've caught yourself even when the fall comes around and things get darker. And a lot of times I hear people say, yeah, winter doesn't do well for me. I'm depressed every single winter. I have so much anxiety every single winter. Every Monday is horrible. That could be a limiting belief. Like, maybe in the past you've got history where you've been able to track that when there's not a lot of sunlight, your mood changes. But does that mean that you always have to be depressed? Does that mean that you always have to be anxious? Does that mean that this is just the way it is? I am destined to suffer. If you have caught yourself saying something like that, just every holidays are hard, and I'm anxious and depressed every holiday that comes around. That could be a limiting belief. I really, really, really challenge you to encourage you to challenge those, because if you stay stuck with that belief system, who knows? Winter could come around and you could find a new activity that you really like to do. You could put some things into place, like getting a sun lamp in your home and make sure that you sit under that. You could take different, maybe herbal supplements or something. You could have something in the winter that you look forward to doing, and all of a sudden you see that things start to shift. Now, I'm absolutely, please don't get me wrong, don't, take what I'm saying and look at it like, oh, she's saying, seasonal affective disorder doesn't exist. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. I think that it absolutely exists. My mailman just got here, it's loud. But I'm looking at it as a limiting belief, something that you tell yourself that you start to believe just because you're saying it to yourself. And I'm just saying it doesn't have to be like that. You can absolutely challenge these things. Um, Another one is I am invincible or insignificant. I'm insignificant. Maybe a more normal way, not so formal way of talking about it is like I don't matter. I don't matter in this world. I don't matter in this relationship. I mean, oh, how heavy is that? How limiting of a belief system is that? It could be where you've got a past of being overlooked or maybe invalidated over and over and over again. So these limiting beliefs, they come from somewhere. Like I was saying with the family roles, they come from somewhere. It doesn't mean that you have to adopt them and make them your own. So feeling invisible, like no one ever hears what I have to say. So why would I even speak up? So then you start living your life like that of not speaking up because you just assume people are going to think that you're invisible and not listen to you, not validate you. So sometimes you don't even give them a chance to give you that attention or that validation. So you start living your life. Well, I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. So why would I even try? Again, limiting belief for sure. I got three more I want to go over. Another one is I'm powerless to change. Oh, I'm powerless to change. You're telling yourself you cannot change. I have zero power to change. I mean, think about how anxiety provoking that is. When we look at anxiety as far as like having a sense of control over your life, if you're feeling like I'm powerless to change, this is who I am, this is who I'm always going to be, it's always been like this, why would it be any different? You're just resigning yourself to be in a very helpless situation. And would you, I don't know, I mean, here's a little exercise to do. If you had, so picture, let's see, okay, this is pretty powerful. Picture yourself as a little person. Like go back to a picture that you can remember of yourself in your, I don't know, maybe you're in like a cute little outfit or you're playing with someone and you've got a smile on your face. Like seriously, just kind of close your eyes and visualize a picture of you when you were little, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you got that picture? Okay, stick with me. If you have that vision of that little person in your head, would you ever tell that little person, would you ever tell that little person, you are never going to change? You're always going to be helpless. You're always going to be a problem. I mean, would you say that to that little person? No, of course not. So why would you say it to yourself now? Think about the things that you tell yourself, this internal dialogue that can keep you in a very anxious space. Would you ever tell that statement that you tell yourself to that little person in that picture? I mean, if that doesn't land on you, we got chit chat. So, think about that. You would not. So why do you say that to yourself now? I mean, really ask yourself. It doesn't have to be that way. All of these things can be shifted slightly. Maybe not overnight, but a little tiny shift of awareness and challenging these internal beliefs that hold you back can make a huge difference. And I, you know what? I would almost guarantee you that you'll start seeing this immediately when you're aware of it and you challenge it and you shift it. I I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy. I don't have worth. I don't deserve success. That's another limiting belief. If you don't feel like you deserve to have happiness, now deserve again, let's just take the word for what it is. I think everybody deserves happiness. Everybody deserves peace. Everyone deserves kindness. So if you're feeling like I'm not worthy of that, you could definitely self sabotage a lot of situations. Maybe a great situation comes along where you could find a lot of joy and happiness and internal strength, and then you sabotage it because you're like, yeah, no, I don't really deserve that. And so then you throw the monkey wrench in it and make it a negative situation, and then you're like, huh, okay, see, I knew it. I knew I didn't deserve that. So a lot of times when you tell yourself these limiting beliefs, you can end up sabotaging a good thing because you've already got yourself convinced that that's impossible for me to achieve. Um, and the last one that I wanted to talk about is a statement where you tell yourself, I'm defined by my past. I'm defined by the choices I've made, by the actions I took, by the opportunities I missed. I'm defined by my past. Kind of goes along with I'm never going to change, but it also it keeps you from being able to move forward. It keeps you from being able to look at your past as a way to learn, and you just kind of stay stuck in the muck. You stay, I mean, guilt is a very good emotion to have. Guilt, you should have guilt if you did something and it was cruel or mean or whatever. I would hope that you would have some guilt because that means that you have a conscience. That means that you care. That means that you've got empathy. So have a little bit of guilt, but don't stay stuck in it because it's like quicksand and it'll pull you down every single time. A little bit of guilt is good, too much guilt, not so good. Kind of like any emotion. I don't know. I mean, I even happiness. Like if you're happy all of the time, you might be in a little denial. So even the good things, you can have too much of a good thing that turns into not a great thing. Um, so the 7 belief systems in limiting belief systems that I talked about today are: I am flawed. There's something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? I'm responsible for other people's happiness. I am destined to suffer. I'm just. Oh, there went my light. My dog just knocked it over. I'm destined to suffer. Sorry, doggies. Um, I'm sorry. Now they're all kind of freaking out. I am invincible or insignificant. I'm powerless to change. I don't deserve to feel success, and I'm defined by my past. So those are 7 out of a gazillion. What I would say is if you find yourself saying any limiting belief, and again, we all do this. We all do this. So the fact that, if you're like, yeah, I don't really have any, I don't know, my friend. I would ask you to really pay attention to that internal dialogue. It might come up when there's conflict. It might come up when you're in an uncomfortable situation. It might come up, I don't know, when you feel like a lot of pressure. There's little teeny chit chat voices that can come to the front of your mind really fast. So I would say challenge it. Like, just kind of pay attention to what is going on in your internal dialogue, because when you can recognize it and understand where it comes from and make that shift, then your confidence will just explode when you can manage all of this stuff, and your anxiety will go down. Confidence high, anxiety low. Confidence low, anxiety high. So anyways, I hope that this was a helpful live today. As always, I would love to know what your thoughts are. You could even, if you want to really take a risk and get yourself out there and be human, write down one of your limiting beliefs that you catch yourself saying in the comments. We all have them. So if you want to be the first one to put yourself out there, that would be awesome. I would love that so much. So Thank you. Have a great week, and I will see you guys next week. Okay, take care.